Welcome to this podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, and today's episode is going to be focused on the sports league everybody loves and is coming back into our lives next week. And there's only one man that I could talk to after a months-long absence to welcome that league back. It's an NBA podcast with Salvador Corona. Sal, how you doing?
Good, Zach. How are you? I'm glad I was selected to talk about the NBA. It's exciting. We finally get to watch this stuff after being on for so long. It's here. It's actually back today because this episode's dropping on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So they have I know the Magic have a scrimmage today versus the Clippers. So I don't know how intense those scrimmages would be, or how much action there's going to be, how much the players are going to hold back. But I'm excited to just watch them get up and down the court.
Are they televising them?
I know the Magic one is going to be televised locally, but I'm sure they probably will televise them like on NBA TV or something like that. I don't think they'll be on like national TV, like ESPN.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll probably tune in to watch the Magic versus the Clippers. I know some players are not going to play today just because they don't feel ready, but it's going to be fun to watch them.
Yeah, luckily up here between the Cavs and the Pistons, both those teams were eliminated already, so there's no basketball to watch up here locally at least. Thankfully, I will add, the Pistons were a dumpster fire this year without Blake Griffin, so I'm glad they're out.
Yeah, now that you say that, I just remembered this. I don't know if you saw it or heard about them wanting to do another bubble in Chicago with the teams that didn't make the Orlando bubble. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it was in Chicago, but I remember hearing some rumblings about that.
Yeah, so supposedly it was going to be in Chicago, and it was like, oh yeah, they're going to do another bubble for the other teams that didn't get selected to the Orlando bubble, and I thought it was the dumbest thing ever, because their whole point of making a bubble is to limit the amount of teams having to play and like coming in contact with one another. So I'm like, if you wanted to do a separate bubble, why not just make one ginormous bubble and put all 30 teams in it, you know? And I think they got a lot of backlash for it, so I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. It would be the stupidest thing the NBA would ever do, to just, no one would watch it. Like, who wants to watch, I don't know, these teams battle like it out for what, 15th place in the league? It doesn't make sense.
Especially with one of the worst drafts in a recent memory as well. I mean, I'm not excited about anybody, and my team will have a lottery pick, so go figure, right, that there's nobody out there other than the third Ball brother. So that's tough. But yeah, and this is a victory for the NHL over the NBA, because the NHL is also starting back up next week, and the NHL was like, they waited a long time to select their bubble locations, and then they saw what's happening here and picked two places in Canada, which is smart. And so I'm questioning the NBA's bubble selectors, the pickers, the council, whatever, because they picked Orlando. Now Florida's the worst state with the virus. And then, I mean, Chicago. Like, I get it's big and such, but I mean, just I don't think it's doing that well either in terms of a bubble. It's not great.
No, yeah. Orlando, we have one of the highest some of the highest cases of Corona virus that's been like going around there in this whole time, and now we decided to have the bubble here. I get why they chose Orlando, because obviously Disney, the Wide World of Sports, is here, so they have those facilities already. They wouldn't have to just build them from the ground up and such. And then like they have the accessibility of all the hotels, so it's kind of easier for them. But then it makes the bubble so much more stricter. Like, no one can step outside the bubble just because there's so many cases, and they're scared that if someone even like has the slightest interaction with the outside world, they're going to bring it in. It's like jail for them in there.
Yeah, well, that happened with Rashawn Holmes, right? The Sacramento Kings center, and a Postmates driver.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's classic stuff. I mean, yeah, and then obviously JJ Redick and stuff posting videos from inside the bubble. So I guess bubble life seems to not be the best, but also not be the worst. I don't know how much you've seen of it.
I actually been following it a lot. I don't know if do you know who Matisse Thybulle is? He's a rookie for the Sixers. Sixers
defensive ace.
Yeah, he's a stud. But yeah, he came out with some vlogs, he posting some videos on YouTube with like Life in the Bubble. And I've been watching those. They're pretty entertaining. He just gives like an inside look of how like the life in there, and it's kind of cool watching those players interact and kind of the crazy things the NBA is doing to limit interaction and whatnot. One thing that I saw in the video that I kind of found ridiculous is, so when they're sitting on the bench in the games, the seats it's not even a bench, it's just seats, singular seats for each player, and they're going to be 6 feet apart from each other, which I get the whole 6 feet thing, but they're going to be rubbing up and touching each other on the court, and when they have to sit on the bench, they have to be sitting 6 feet apart. That doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know. I guess they just wanted to limit as much interaction as possible.
Yeah, I know the European soccer leagues did that because the subs would be all in the stands, where the fans should be, apart with masks on. But to your point, it's like, okay, but if you're going to come out the field and play anyway, what's the difference? Yeah. And especially with the fact that, okay, well, everyone has been tested that is eligible to play in that game because they're doing a very rigorous testing beforehand. So it's like, okay, well, it's not there. But I guess maybe to protect part of the coaching staff and such, obviously, since there's a lot of older coaches.
Yeah, that's true.
But who knows? Who knows? You know what also would have helped limiting the people in the bubble, Sal? Bubble.
I know where you're going with this.
Maybe removing the Phoenix Suns, the Washington Wizards from it, and other teams. So, I don't know. It's still kind of, obviously you wanted as many teams as possible to play. And they, in terms of the teams they got rid of, it's kind of funny to look at the standings from ESPN because you only see 2 of them were removed, the Timberwolves and the Warriors from the West. Then there's 6 out from the East because the East, once again, is just horrible. So
it's trash like always.
Yeah, the Cavs, Hawks, Pistons, Knicks, Bulls, and Hornets are not from the bubble. And I think everyone, including their respective fans, as I've already said for the Pistons, are happy that's done, as are the Timberwolves and the Warriors. So we're left with 22 teams. If you were Adam Silver, how many teams would you have brought?
I probably would have done... I wouldn't have just taken the 8 teams of the... of each conference, like the playoffs, let's just take the 8 teams of each conference, and then I don't know, let's start this stuff. I would definitely not taken the Suns, but I would have done it if you're within 4 games back of the 8th spot. I would have selected those teams, and then I think that would have been a good amount because that's kind of a more fair selection because like those teams had the possibility of making the playoffs. If the season would have kept going and stuff like that, because it's obviously the Suns logistically would have had the possibility to if the NBA was still going on, but kind of have to like think realistically, like are the Suns going to make the playoffs over all these teams?
Right. Yeah. So you in your scenario, you chop off the Suns and the Wizards. So now we're down to 20. That's solid. That's better than we currently have. Yeah. So, we should be frank. The reason they did this is so they could get Zion and, to a lesser extent, Damian Lillard, right? Like, let's be honest. Because even, like, the players in the Spurs are 4 games back of the Grizzlies right now. Like, yeah. Aldridge got surgery in May when they were clearly going to come back at some point. LaMarcus Aldridge did. So he's like, yeah, I'm done anyway. In terms of the Wizards, who are now, they're 5.5 back of the Magic. Bradley Beal's like, nah, I'm good. And then Davis Bertans, their breakout swingman this year, is like, yeah, I'm hitting free agency next year. I've done enough for a contract. I'm okay. And now the Wizards have nobody. And even the Nets, who are the 7th seed, they had how many people opt out? 6? 7? I know I wrote about it for the website, but I was like, oh my gosh.
I was happy with that because I'm like, okay, the Magic are for sure getting that 7th spot now. Like, there's no way we mess that up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're only half game back. of that, and then you go from facing the Bucks to. I mean, it's still difficult in the Raptors, but it's at least you can probably take a game or two off the Raptors. The Bucks,
it'll be more exciting. Yeah,
the Bucks. I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like I get it because they want Zion and they want to maximize the TV revenue here, but I don't know. Like I get the at the NCAA level, right? Like Zion like broke every like news record, whatever. All you heard about was him and such like that. Does he really move the needle that much when you have like LeBron and Anthony Davis as the 1 seed and Kawhi Leonard and stuff like that? Then you still have the Rockets, Harden, and stuff like that. Doncic's Mavericks are really good, because it's probably obviously like there's the top 3 title teams, so the Bucks and the 2 LA teams. Yeah. But obviously there are more teams than that where I'm like, okay, yeah, they have at least the talent to maybe get past one of those teams in the playoffs. How many of those teams do you think there are? Because I don't know how many I see.
I don't think there's a lot. But just going back to what you were saying about the whole Zion thing, I feel like the NBA wanted just to make sure Zion would get in there, just because if Zion wasn't on the Pelicans right now, like he would have gone to some other teams, nobody's going to watch the Lakers versus Pelicans playoff games. Like nobody will watch that. I mean, I wouldn't watch that if Zion wasn't on there. Like that's just a waste of time. Even though like obviously you get to watch like LeBron James, but statistically, no one watches the first round playoff games already.
Yeah, for sure. That's why we should make the first round best out of 5. Honestly,
yeah,
I'm a strong believer in that.
No, yeah, they definitely do need to change something up about that.
Yeah, because you just get these LA Lakers that are 49-14 going against, the Grizzlies, who are a game under 500. It's like, all right, like, what are we accomplishing here by making LeBron play a couple extra games here? But I don't. Oh, yeah, I would say that, I don't know, going back to the title thing, I look at, oh, man, it's so weird. I can't believe Philly's the 6th seed also. I gotta get Devin Foster on here to come on and just unload on his Sixers, because they're rough. I don't know. I guess I could see the Sixers winning somehow, because they definitely have Embiid and Simmons, obviously, who's talented enough to do that. I don't think they would, but I wouldn't be necessarily shocked. Have you this is random. Have you looked at the 538 stuff, the ESPN analytics division? No. They overrate. Let me look it up. They overrate the Sixers so heavily. Like they had them as title favorites entering the year, based on their, I think it's called Raptor projections. Let me look it up real quick. But and then like in the West, I think the Mavericks, they have like what? They have a like historically great offense.
Yes,
I was seeing. So like I don't know. Like it's so weird, especially with this. Have you? There's also, I know I'm just bouncing around here, but there's random things too with the like the whole thing with the asterisk, right? Like this isn't a real title. And now I think I've heard stuff that's flipped the other way, where it's like, actually, this is the most difficult title to win in history. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I saw that. I think it goes both ways, to be honest. There's definitely an asterisk, whether you want to put the asterisk there for it being an easier way to win the title, just because a lot of players are going to be out and some teams are not going to be, I don't know, to their full capacity, blah, 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 blah. But then you go the other way and be like, oh yeah, the teams didn't get enough time to prepare. Like these NBA players haven't been in this action for months, and now you expect them to jump in and be back to their level of like playing. There's definitely an asterisk, whether you want to like make it a good or bad asterisk. It's up to like interpretation, but it's definitely such a weird season, and I think it's gonna affect them, because I think the teams that should capitalize on this are teams that, like you said, aren't expected to win the finals. Like obviously we expect the Lakers and Bucks and Clippers to be up there, but I don't know. I was seeing somewhere where someone was saying that the Miami Heat, now it's their chance to like push for another championship, because it's such a weird setup, and if they can get their players healthy, like healthier than these other teams, it's they have an opportunity now more than ever.
Yeah, it's very true. The other one I think about like that is the Rockets, right? Because the last time we left off, they were a couple games into this small ball thing. Russell Westbrook, I'm sad to say, but he looked pretty good in those last couple games before the season stopped. And no one's really tried their system, with their closing five will be Harden, Covington, Westbrook. What do you got? PJ Tucker and who's the fifth? Who's their fifth? Who's their fifth guy? Who's their three?
Is it Eric Gordon?
Yeah, it's Eric Gordon.
Yeah,
that's
I was
right.
trying to think like, who is it?
Yeah, he has not been having a good season this year. But if you those three together, like closing out games and stuff like that, without really a true center and Tucker playing center, I mean, we haven't seen too much of that, and it'll be really interesting to see where they'll be able to do that.
No, yeah, you're right. Another thing that's like gonna put an asterisk on this whole season is I was listening to just another podcast. I know it's not the assist, but I can still listen to other podcasts.
Yes, you can.
It was they were talking about how, like, for example, if a player tests for coronavirus, they have to quarantine for 10 to 14 days. So what's going to happen? We're in, let's say, like the Western Conference Final, and for some reason LeBron James tests positive, and he has to sit out for 10 to 14 days. How much is that going to change the team? That's a big setback.
Yeah, it really is, and obviously I don't want to minimize the effect of COVID and stuff like that on the general population, but we're talking about some of the fittest people on the planet Earth. So I think it is reasonable to conclude, and we'll see if the email inbox gets flooded with issues regarding this conclusion, that it's like you said, it's 10 to 14 days. It's almost like an ankle sprain in that case, right? They're chilling. They're, I guess, rehabbing. Of course, some of them could get more sick and have real issues with their lungs and breathing. Others could not. And that's just how this virus has gone, which is really weird, obviously, and that's why it's so problematic. But I feel like it's just going to be an ankle injury, which is so bizarre because we've never had. We've had quote-unquote flu-like symptoms, and they miss 1 or 2 games, they're over. But you're right, the nature of this makes it 10 to 14 days, which if I'm correct, that'd be a whole series, right? The 5 to 7, that'd be 5 to 7 games.
Especially, I think they're probably going to play. They're not going to have as much of rest in between games just because they're all in a bubble. They don't have to travel. So I feel like they might even play. The series might even be done sooner than that,
Yeah, they're probably going every 2 days, right? Because they don't have to have that third day for travel that they usually are given. That'd be his worst case scenario. Would be they get there, and I'm not wishing this, but just be so funny because how clear it is that the reason they added 6 extra teams for Zion if Zion tested positive. It's like, well, he's out for the first round, and
he's out of the bubble right now for family emergency.
Oh, that's right.
So I wonder. I'm sure the NBA is really pushing to get Zion back. I'm like, okay, your family's important, but Zion, we added all these teams for you. You better get back here.
Look, man, we got Devin Booker a chance to fill the stat sheet with empty stats again, just so your ass can play. Oh man, drive by Devin Booker on that one. That's
because I love Devin Booker, but because when Zion does end up coming back from his family emergency, which is I'm sure it's important. I don't think it's BS and he's just, I don't know, trying to take a rest or whatever. He has to quarantine for 2 to 4 days when he comes back. So let's say he comes back once they're in the playoffs, or even in between these middle of these 8 games. He's probably not going to get the opportunity to play in these 8 games before the playoffs. So that's definitely going to affect the chances of them even making the playoffs. So because they're out of it right now, so they need, I don't know, Zion, I guess, to provide some effort in that.
And it's within 4 games, correct? Is the 8-9 thing? So Portland, New Orleans, and Sacramento, and San Antonio are all within 4 games right now. With Portland, New Orleans, and Sacramento tied 3.5 back. Did they think about the fact that they might end up being tied? They could be what happens then?
Yeah. See, that's. I mean, I don't know. They could probably go back to. They're probably going to use some like the I don't know, the standings from the past. Like, I don't know if you beat them in the regular season, there's many games, whatever. Yeah,
that's true.
Stuff like that. What was I going to say? See, that's another thing. When we were discussing how many teams, it didn't make sense to me to. At first, I'm like, oh, I think it's BS to have the 8 games before. I was like, oh, let's just get the playoffs over with. But now, like, you think of it more, I'm like, you kind of need those 8 games as an NBA player to just get back into the swing of things. So you don't want these players going straight to playoffs and just playing horrible basketball. So you need those 8 games, to get a little refresher. So that's fine. Those 8 games before the season makes sense. But the whole play-in thing doesn't make any sense to me, because that's just going to allow other teams to play more games, which, depending on how you look at it, could be good or bad, because more games means you're getting more reps in, so you're better equipped for the playoffs. And on the other side is, like, more games increases the chances of a player getting injured,
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's a really weird thing. Like, within 4 games, it's like, okay. Like, and then, you pull up the thing that's like, okay, Zion's 3.5 games back. It's like, oh, interesting. Wonder how that worked out. And then it's like I can only imagine that the 65 and older population trying to grasp this. So you got to be 4 games back. And I mean, if Trump can't comprehend kneeling, I don't know if he's gonna be able to comprehend this one. I don't know if you saw that tweet yesterday. It's like, the second it happens, it's over. It's like the second the kneeling happens or whatever, it's over. It's like, okay, good. You won't be watching any sports then this year.
Yeah, the Mark Cuban thing, right? With someone said it like, oh, if any of the Mavs players whatever, he was like saying he supports the Mavs and he thinks they're going to do well, but he's like, the second they start kneeling, that's when I stop watching them or something like that. And Mark Cuban responded, he's like bye.
Well, so then Mark Cuban went after went with Ted Cruz. Did you see that?
Okay. Yeah, because Ted Cruz gave Mark Cuban crap for it. He's like, a team in Texas is not going to do this.
I don't want to misquote him, because I'm pretty sure there was something about testicles being mentioned here and manhood. And I was sitting there at this at a resort with Katie's family, and I was just like, oh my! I was like, what am I reading right now? Let's see. Okay, wait. All right, so yeah, Ted Cruz quoted his tweet or whatever. Quoted that exchange where Mark Cuban says bye. Says really with a bunch of exclamation points and questions. NBA is telling everyone who stands for the flag, who honors our cops and our veterans, to piss off in Texas, no less. Good luck with that. Mark Cuban says, have some balls for once, Ted Cruz. Speak to me. It's my tweet.
That's so funny. Man. I love Mark Cuban.
Yeah, and then Cruz, I mean, as politicians do, goes, speaking of balls, tell us what you think about China. I'll wait. You're like, okay. Yeah, he's going to do that when Daryl Morey almost got cut out of the whole entire league earlier in the fall. I mean, holy cow. Yeah, we don't need to get political about that, because I think it's pretty obvious that players should be able to do stuff like that and kneel and protest, and obviously the NBA is giving them a platform for that with social justice, and I believe they painted Black Lives Matter on the court, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I saw a video of the new court.
Yeah. So, I mean, but just Mark Cuban questioning Ted Cruz's balls, I mean, and manhood the other day. Just, I never expected to see that. So, here we are.
And neither did I. I wonder if Mark Cuban's going to be at the games. I don't know if he's in the bubble, because, he shows up to every single game. And I know I've seen some GMs in the bubble. I know the Toronto GM's in there. So I wonder, to what extent these non-essential, I guess, because I don't think you need your GM in the bubble. I don't know what is he going to provide to you, but I wonder to what extent these non-essential staff that's going to be in there watching the games and stuff.
Right. I mean, Cuban's probably the most into it owner. Genuinely, he is a basketball fan. He loves it. He's loved the Mavericks.
He goes to everyone. He's the OG. The other one is Stephen Ballmer, but he's nowhere as intense as Cuban has been. Right.
So I mean, I could see it just because, and Cuban's also a very recognizable face as well for many Americans due to his swimming exploits on Shark Tank. So so that's it will be interesting to see how many people they actually let in, because you do the UFC thing, right, where it's like 4 or 5 people per person in these arenas and such like that, and it actually ends up being a good amount of people in there because you can have the fighters waiting to come in and watch and all that stuff. So I do wonder, especially with the the amount of people on the NBA coaching staff is a little ridiculous, and the NFL ones too. It's like it's like, do we really need just a defensive line coach? I mean, I get it.
No, there's a coach for everything.
But I get it. It's a different position group, but the offensive line, the defensive line, I feel like, could be maybe done, but it's like the same thing when people ask about, why are there so many specialties with doctors? It's like, well, if you want us to do everything, we could, but it's not really the best use of all of our talent here. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's and then, now I bring it up because before it's not an issue, whatever, but now it is. With so many people, and especially in the NFL, a lot of people being over that 50 or 60 age group, and then also carrying some extra poundage from their playing days that has been looked at as a risk factor for this illness.
Yeah.
So I want to circle back to the Sixers thing. So I've had it pulled up. So this is purely like a projection thing. It's very analytical. I don't know why it spits this out, but I trust 538 with everything. If you had, you just go with whatever. The chance of the Sixers making the finals as a percent, what do you think it is? Just off the top of your head. Like what you would think, just being an NBA fan for years.
Chance of the Sixers making the finals, I don't know. Probably like 15%.
Okay. And their chance of winning the finals?
Winning the finals, probably like 5%.
So 538 says they're 33% to make the finals and 14% to win the title, which is the same as the Bucks.
I don't. Yeah, you did say they're very generous with the Sixers with these odds. That's crazy though. That's super generous. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I guess it's because they project the Sixers starting 5, and then you add in Thibault there and Horford for the first guys off the bench. Once they allocate more time to it, they'll be very well. Well, right now actually they have Simmons as a point guard, which isn't going to happen. We already heard about that. That's something we talk about too, because Brett Brown came out and said that Simmons will be playing the 4, right? And then mostly not really the 1 anymore. But if you look at their top 5-6 players, they're all positive and all blue. I don't think it necessarily though understands the fact that Simmons and Embiid just don't play well together at this point. I think there's enough evidence for that it's just they don't fit. Who would know? You put a center who likes to do pump fakes at the top of the key with a supposed point guard that doesn't shoot, and I don't know. You look at the Bucks and it's a bit more varied. Brooke Lopez as a negative on the offensive end apparently. Didn't think about that one.
Really?
Oh well, that's something to analyze later before I just go on random tangents. So I just I don't really get that. I don't think the Sixers are that high. Here's something to talk about. The Pacers, right above them in the standings. Is Oladipo playing yet? We talked about it last week, but I haven't seen any update. Have you?
No, I haven't. No, yeah. So just a little brief summary of the whole thing. So it came out that before even the players came into the bubble that he wasn't going to join in the bubble. He didn't feel ready. He was going to sit out, and then all of a sudden, they saw him in the bubble, and people were questioning, "Oh, so are you playing now?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I thought of it again, so I think I'm going to give it a shot if I'm ready and see if I'm ready to play in the bubble." So I guess he's trying to make an effort for it, but there hasn't been an update yet. Not that I know of. I'm sure there'll be one within this week because the action starts up next week.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And he's a difference maker for that Pacers squad. I know
100%, yeah.
He came back for the injury and didn't look super great before the pandemic caused the season to stop. But, the they're still nestled in there at the 5 seed, and I mean they're a very dangerous team for Miami or Boston, should they, depending on where they end up in the standings, especially with Vic Oladipo, if he will be playing. I know he's a long lost soul for your Orlando Magic in one of the worst drafts of all time. Yeah. So, I
think for a player like him, he's just trying to outweigh the risk versus reward, because he's probably scared, because obviously this is mine. Like, what if I play these games that might not even matter because we're not even going to do anything in the playoffs, and then I get injured again, then I can't play next season. So all this stuff like crosses these players' minds. So it's not just about like wanting to play; it's about, should I play? Am I ready to play? Is my body ready to play? Because like one of the most well-known common things, like the injuries in sports that just kind of derailed a player, is like Derrick Rose saying he got injured with his knee, and then he came back and got injured again, and just kept getting injured over and over again. So it happens.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately, and I mean we've seen a lot of that as well with some other injuries, like Kevin Durant. There were rumors he would possibly be able to come back because people are doing the math, and it's been about a year, well, longer than a year, that he injured his tore his Achilles, and he was just like, no, I'm not coming back. We're like, okay, got it.
That's smart.
Well, especially on the dumpster fire Nets team there, where Kyrie Irving fractured that stuff. So, do you think
what Kyrie's doing right now? What are you saying? Sorry.
No, I was gonna go off that. Do you think Kyrie and Kanye hang out?
They have similar personalities. I don't know. I feel like they could. Kyrie and Kanye. That has a nice ring to it.
I mean, like if they, that'd be the name of the reality show, right? So that's one avenue. The other avenue would be taking Kyrie's bullshit idea to create their own league and be like, yeah, Kanye's my owner. Well, did you see that?
He's a commissioner. He'll be the commissioner of the league.
Oh God, Kanye would just be like, I'm kicking out this team because I didn't like what they said once, and we're out, we're done. Signing off now. Going to focus on music. Like, okay, go ahead, Kanye.
What were you gonna say that I see?
Oh yeah, did you read that proposal though? It was a couple of weeks ago, I know, but I still just think it's worth bringing up since we haven't had an NBA thing in a while, because it's the logic I can get, where it's one of those things I think where you hear, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, and then you like think about it 2 seconds longer, you're like, wait, you still have to have owners in a league no matter what, you know?
Yeah, someone has. You have to have. Yeah, he probably just thought, oh yeah, the players are going to run the league. That was his like thought. I'm sure. I don't know where he came up with it. He just had no. I don't think he followed through with his crazy idea. But like you said, there's going to have to be owners, people that are going to have to run it, regardless of who starts it. You know.
Yeah, the ratio of players, this is, I mean, sometimes they just don't have the education such like that, and advantages, that certain business people do in terms of playing because they're focused on playing. But the amount of players that end up going broke versus becoming multi-billionaires like Magic Johnson, I think there's only one Magic Johnson actually, and yeah, there you go. That's why the players can't be owners. I mean... Yeah, so it was just, and only Kyrie could have came up with that, right? And I want to see, like, if you had the screen, like the all participant view on Zoom, what everyone's face was like when he's talking. It's like, okay, like we gotta, like, I don't know, Chris Paul's looking at him like, bro, like I just want to play, like stop, like.
Yeah, I just don't know where this is coming from. Like we talked about this off air. I don't know what the problem is in the NBA. The NBA is one of the best leagues. They're very well organized. They're managed. Like Adam Silver is great. Like I don't see any problems like other leagues like the NFL. So I don't know what his problem is with the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, you compare the other 4 sports, right? MLB is literally in a war. I mean, they barely had a season this year, or they're barely going to get one with 60 games because of labor issues. The NHL has actually been locked out completely for a whole season. They canceled a season in the past 20 years. So there's that. And in the NFL, they don't. I mean, everyone made a big deal about the Mahomes contract, and yeah, I get it. 10 years, 450, whatever. He's not going to get $450 million though, because that's not how NFL contract works. Unlike the NBA contracts, where everything's fully guaranteed. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't understand. And Adam Silver is the best commissioner right now out of the four big four sports, and everything's been. Like you said, revenue's been going up until now with the COVID. And I don't see any real things or real labor things. There's obviously many tweaks that people could make. And it probably won't be as good as it is now because, frankly, I think a lot of these owners are probably looking around at each other like, hey, we got to stop this player movement somehow because it's kind of getting ridiculous. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with them. So I think you and I are probably relics of an older time that we are rooting for teams and not players now. And it's very weird to not be able to craft an identity around teams now with all the guys moving and such like that. So, I mean, obviously people should be able to do what they want, but it's also a little... That's going to be the next thing in the next CBA for sure.
I hope it is. It just makes it... Because I remember back when the Magic were good, like there wasn't many super teams. I don't even remember there wasn't super teams like there is now. And the NBA was very well balanced, and it was so entertaining to watch. Like every team had their superstar, and like there's these other all-stars on the team, but there was nothing like, oh, let's combine and join forces here and there. It was such a fun time in the NBA.
Right, because you had LeBron in his first run in Cleveland. You had the Paul Pierce, KG, Ray Allen Celtics, obviously Kobe's Lakers. Yeah, you guys were the Dwight Howard Magic, which, I mean, trying to explain to a kid that's 11 right now that Dwight Howard was a 20 and 15 player and actually he won an MVP, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I think he did, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy because he's been like 7 teams in the last 6 years.
Yeah, now that you bring that up, he was like, he came, I think he posted this on Instagram, that this time in Orlando was so nostalgic for him and brings back so much memories of the great people in Orlando and blah 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 blah. And we're like, shut up, Dwight! Like you left. Like don't try to make it seem like I don't know, like you're all buddy with us.
Yeah, you forced yourself out. I mean, and he did pretty nastily.
It was actually because I'm a big JJ Redick fan, and Stan Van Gundy's now on Twitter. I don't know if you saw that. And he's very honest on Twitter. And I think there was more to it than just like that team that was put together, like that Dwight Howard, like all those players. I think it had to do a lot with the owners because they were one of a great Orlando Magic TV announcer got let go because obviously they didn't need his service and during his time, and like they couldn't afford to pay him. But then Stan Van Gundy was attacking the owners, like the DeVos family, because they're like $1 billion family because like they couldn't afford to pay some of these essential workers that have been dedicated to the Orlando Magic for so long. And he was kind of like shitting on them, saying like, "Oh, this is the type of owners that the Orlando Magic have." Blah 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 blah. So I think there's like a lot more to it that like people don't know than just teams wanting to join other teams and stuff like that. I mean, players wanted to join other teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like that. And I know you mentioned to me before that Orlando's owners are kind of in the background a lot. They're not really super involved with the team like a Cuban, just and stuff like that. So, yeah. It's, that's the stuff I've seen, and that's the type of stuff that we'll never really know, right? It's just really unfortunate, exactly. I feel like so. One thing I wanted to ask you, so we're going to get a glut of games coming for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
For the seeding games. There's probably 4, I have the schedule pulled up now, probably the max about 4 televised games a day, and probably 5 to 6 most days. How many are you going to watch here?
I'm going to try to watch all the Magic games, at least, because I know all of those will be televised. So that's 8. But I feel like, I don't know, it comes to the point where, like, do I want to do, because, like, you could literally be in your house all day watching NBA if you wanted to. But then you're like, do I really just want to be inside watching basketball all day? I don't know. I think I'm going to I'm gonna try to watch probably like 2 or 3 a day if I can.
Yeah, and you'll have the times where you're just on your laptop, kind of doing whatever, and not really.
I mean, there's not much else to do nowadays. We can't like go out. You're not stay inside. There's not much to do.
Yeah, can't go out to the club.
In between my golf game and other responsibilities, I'll be inside watching basketball.
There we go. And then golf could be a morning activity as well. So there you go. Get that cleared out. Get out of the course.
Yeah.
Shoot a 5 under there, and you'll be set. Have you been on the course yet, or just the range?
No, just practicing, putting in reps.
Okay. If you figure out the driver, let me know, because that holds me back.
Oh yeah, that's kryptonite, you would say.
Yes, it is. If I were an alien that was really strong at other things from somewhere else. I mean that's I went to Topgolf and I'm like, yep, 5 iron and 4 iron and those and 9 iron. I'm great. Irons are great. Driver, nope. Nothing.
I've been using my hybrid, so like making good contact with it and just working my way up to the driver. Yeah.
I when I was gifted my set of clubs from the great Mike Schwartz, I was not gifted a hybrid, so might have to invest in one of those so I don't look like crap.
It's a great piece of equipment for just trying to get into the game.
There we go. So I like to hear. What else you got for the NBA restart? We've been going for about 45 minutes here, so.
I don't have much to add. I think that's talk about crazy bubble stuff.
I think just super excited, to have it all back and to have all the, with everything that's been going on the past couple months, it's going to be nice that we can debate the merits of Russell Westbrook, James Harden backcourt, Kawhi Leonard's game, and all this stuff. Just all the regular banter and BS we have. Exactly.
I'm excited for it all. It's going to be crazy times. I hope we also get some like drama stuff, like this star player invited someone to the bubble, or this star player left the bubble. I want some of that stuff too, because it brings because we're never gonna experience this ever again. Like, at least I hope not. Like, we're never gonna have the NBA in a bubble ever again. So I just want a fun time. Just make sure like some controversy here and there. It makes for good TV ratings.
Yeah, I agree completely. So, especially with some of those guys in there, it'll probably get pretty interesting, I think. So, we'll have to find out. But yeah, always a pleasure. I know we have plans to do another podcast when the seeds actually are down. Possibly inviting on your good friend Eric and stuff like that. So we'll look forward to that in a couple weeks when we get these games going.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm excited for that too.
All right, thanks for coming on, Sal.
Of course, it's always a pleasure.